Hello and welcome back. Today we are continuing with the Fanhome Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Megazord build with parts 22 and 23, which I believe will round off our head for the Triceratops. At the very least we will get to look at the battery and how that is all shaping up in terms of lighting. So without further ado, it's building time. Get this opened up. Issue 22 will, or part 22 will give us the what appears to be the back of this head, and we can also open up part 23. Part 23. There we go. So move those to one side. We will get our instruction manual, our battery, as always, because this was a complete package delivery. The batteries have been packaged separately from the actual packaging, so as always, something to bear in mind. There we go. So, to begin with, I get a screwdriver ready. So to begin with, let's get the screws ready. Oops, that's our screws for this part. And we need this is a connecting post, and we need the shock absorber. So this appears to go in like so. Okay, so with the connecting post, like some of the other shock absorbers, it's rounded at 2 points and flattened out at the others. The flattened out to the sides, with the rounded out part at the top. Well, that's not good. There we go. I lost it for a second. Okay, so this should just go in like that. As always, this is quite a tight fit, and you're going to want a hard but soft enough surface to actually push this through. So I'm just going to do this off camera for a second and be back. There we go. So you want the shock absorber to go in about halfway, so the bolt's sticking at the other end and the absorber is out the front. Then need to bring in our two end pieces, and first off this will supposedly, I see, that will fit into there supposedly, and this piece will fit into there. Like so. Now, the problem I'm having is maybe that hasn't gone through as far as it should. believe that is in as far as it will go. But that just sort of isn't really fitting properly. I'm not sure if that's right or not. And as always, it's not particularly clear from the instructions. That's in as far as it'll go. That just seems odd. Okay, let's leave that for once at the moment and we'll come back to it. Next up is fitting our battery with its insulation. Take our battery. And our protective cover for it. There we go. So this will got that and that with this fitting there, supposedly, and then this fitting at the back. Okay, I see. So the battery is going to go in there. Then these 4 bits. That cannot be right. No, sorry, the battery doesn't go there. It actually fits down the side there. That's how it's going. And the battery is going with the wire facing down. So if I'm right, it should look like that. Then it's just a case of screwing it into place, I believe. I must say the instructions for the Triceratops head have been absolutely awful. I don't know how well it's going to show up on the camera, but everything is just a blob of blue. So trying to discern the right way round for things and how they're fitting isn't the easiest of tasks. And a lot of it has come down to sort of more of a common sense approach. For example, I've now realized that this part is round the wrong way. So, I believe that is supposed to go like that. Oops. No, I'll try not to pull that wire. There it is. Let's screw out the way for a moment. There we go. Let's try that again. There we go. There we go. Right. Try that again. That's one. This will be 2. 3. 4. There we go. Presumably that will be for the head to be able to position and move. I'm not sure. I guess we'll see in time. Then this will okay, so this is going to fit onto the back of the head. Retrieve the Triceratops dinosaur's head for assembly from previous issue and secure the rear cover to the head of the inner panel and inner panel with 4 screws. Make sure that the cable terminals are routed downwards, so all of the cables need to face down. Presumably the battery connector will go at the bottom. Okay, I see how that's going to fit. It's going to fit like that. It's definitely coming along very nicely. And then our 4 screws will connect here. One. And 2. One of the cables has gotten caught. That's annoying, I didn't see that. There we go. There we go. That's all the wires out the way. What I think I'm going to do is just only do 2 screws for now. The reason being because I really do want to test the lighting on this before I finalize things, so that if there are issues with it, I can do something about the light bleed. So with that in mind, let's move on to part 23. Well, I'm going to skip a few steps. Initially, the instructions want you to do for part 23 is go through the routine of fitting all of this bit, and then we will go on to fitting the battery and the LED. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit the battery, I'm going to fit the circuit board to the connectors to begin with. So let's take a look here. So this will connect to, and one of the horses fall out. That's going to go in like that. So we will probably want to one side. So power button you're going to want going up that way. There's some electrician's tape. And hold that in place while we just secure yes, that goes in like that. Let's bring in our screws. Let's keep the screws separate from the others for obvious reasons. And take you. There it is. Let's hold that into place. Go to the other one. There we go. That's it. One, two, and hopefully that all appears to be in order. I don't think this one's as lined as well as some of the others. There seems to be a slight gap between the USB, but as far as I can see, this is as fitted as correctly as it possibly can be. No, there's no way of lining that up better than it already is. So that will do. It's a little disappointing, but it should be okay. For anything else, let's connect our wires and test things. And move the horns out the way for a moment. So this will go in like that. This will be four connectors. So that's going where? Okay. This will be the battery terminal. What I should have done, I hadn't realised it was going to be this awkward because the others haven't been, but I could have probably gone down the route of marking these. But even with the instructions, it is pretty intuitive. So hopefully, there we go. There's our light. So it doesn't look like there is any light bleed on this at all, which is fantastic to see. Let's see if we can bring this in. Just get an idea of how it's going to sit, like so. No, and there is no light bleed at all, which is absolutely fantastic and exactly what we wanted to see. So that can get turned off for a minute. That can fit up like that for now. Then we can go back to the beginning of these instructions and make sure that we actually get everything connected as it should be. So to begin with, we need to take our crest and hover. So this is made of a clear red plastic, which has then been painted yellow. Presumably the LED will still pick up through it, or the infrared signal rather. So that just plugs into there, and then we need 2 screws to fit this. One, two, there we go. Now we need our infrared light. That's our infrared light, and this will fit like so. Just going to bring that. Done that a little too tight. There we go. Lift that back round and screw that into place. There we go. 1. 2. That's nice and fitted. This will then feed down through thinking this. So that will feed down like so. So that's coming through there. That will rest under there. That will press into there, a nice solid clip, and that will go over there. What's that? There we go, and then we want another one of our screws. And that will go through the center here. That what I'm going to do before we proceed is I'm going to finish off screwing in the back here, because as you can see, that doesn't line up perfectly. It comes forward a little bit, so I'm wondering if that's because the back of this isn't as screwed on and sealed as tight as it should be. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. So that's our 4 bits all. There you go. That's fitted. Once that's definitely screwed in properly, you just need to give a firm press on that and it'll clip back into place and hold it. So that's lined up properly now. The horn can go on. I believe will go only the one way, so you can see there that fits nicely there, and finally we can just finish off this batteries. So take that and that. Separate those wires out a bit so they're not getting tangled up. There we go. They're now plugged in, and just to get one last time, everything seems to be working, which is fantastic and exactly what we would hope to see. This just needs to be fitted in. So despite having what appears to be screw ports throughout, there aren't any actual screws on this. I'm wondering if maybe the plans for screwing it changed throughout the development cycle. Instead, this just has 2 clips, which I guess will just lock it into place. Sort of. There we go. Yeah. That's a solid clip. There we go. That is all lit up nicely. Now that's sealed in, the gap between the plastic and the USB port isn't actually as bad as I thought, so it's all good. Then just carefully put our horns back. So for the horns, literally you're just lowering the train down along the shaft of the crescent. The reason you want to do that is because the chain needs to sit away from the rest of the horn so that it will plug in nicely like that. And same here. One doesn't have there we go. And there we have it. There is our Triceratops head. This looks fantastic. It's really decent size. Everything feels tight and secure. There is absolutely no light bleed whatsoever, which is wonderful. Haven't had to make any adjustments to it whereas the saber-toothed tiger head has still got the light bleed between the connector, the two halves, which is very disappointing. And the Mastodon I had to go through and make a couple of amendments to, as you may have seen in the previous video. But the Triceratops doesn't have any light bleed. Everything fits nice and flush. It all feels solid and sturdy. The rattling you hear is the chains, and it isn't anything loose in there, it is just those chains. The jaw is hinged and opens and closes, and it is a nice tight fit. So you know it's not moving about if you shake it. I don't know how exposed these screws will be at the end of the build. I kind of wish that any exposed screws had, little plugs to cover them up. I think that would have added a really nice touch and made this just a little bit better. You don't want screws, ports showing, so if we could have clipped those up. I'm wondering if Fanhome haven't done that as a way of being able to undo these if we absolutely have to. I presume that will allow for some head movement with the rest of the body when we get to that point. But otherwise, there we have the saber-toothed tiger, Triceratops head. And in my opinion, this might be the best looking one so far. So we can put that to one side, and we will close out the episode as always by looking at this week in Power Rangers. We're now looking at episode 22 and 23. 22 is The Trouble with Shell Shock. This is the Shell Shock turtle monster, which had the traffic light on the back of its head. It was created by Baboon and Squat. I think this is the one where Trini got stuck running and had to go find the plant to free her friends. In my opinion, this monster, more than any others, is very reminiscent of the sort of Toei monsters from Japan, like Godzilla and Gamera, etc. But as always, we get our episode description, some nice still shots, and interesting fact is it is the first time that Tommy fights alongside the Power Rangers, although it is actually his Megazord that faces Shell Shock. Episode 23 is Itsy Bitsy Spider, the fake statue, and the monster of the week is Spidertron, which we can see there. We get our episode summary, our episode stills, and curious fact is it is the first episode in which we see the Mega Dragonzord commanded in the cabin by Zack, Trini, Billy. So yeah, there we have it. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I will be back soon. Until next time, stay safe and may the power protect you.